Okay, welcome to our new latest edition of the Design Conversation webinar. So tonight we have June with us, the founder of Noon. So June, maybe you can tell the audience who you are.
Okay. My name is June. I'm the founder of Noon, like Chunwei said just now. So, in summary, when you're asking a person who they are, that's actually quite a big question, right? But in a summary, I would like to say that I'm a marketer that is pretty good with design, put it that way. So it's a simple way of summarizing what I do. So I'm a marketer that design, right? So am I supposed to share this?
Yeah, you can. It's already there.
Oh, okay. So I think I want to start today's conversation with a very simple question. Okay. Then by the end of my presentation or my slides, maybe you guys can take a guess of the answer, right? What do you think is the one important skill that most designers or visual artists lack? Okay, so just keep that question in your mind. It's not something that you need to answer now or even later, but just something for you to keep in mind throughout the presentation. Okay. So, like I mentioned just now, I'm the founder of Noon. Noon is actually a creative studio for placemakers and city makers. I've started this last year, February. So it's a pretty good timing right before the movement control order is being implemented. But the idea of Noon, or the idea of this creative studio for placemakers and city makers, has actually been in my mind brewing for a very long time. So I've been thinking about this for, I think, almost half a decade before I actually started out last year. So when I started out last year, MCO started, but things has been fun. So whenever I introduce Noon as a creative studio for placemakers and city makers, many people would ask me, who are city makers, right? So I would promote to my friends or promote to my family members. They will ask, who are these city makers, right? So for me, city makers are actually our local heroes. They are creativepreneur, artists, entrepreneurs, placemakers who are working on projects or working on businesses that are intended to grow their city. Okay, they are trying to make their city a better place. So I'm always interested in the idea of making our city more into a better community so that we can live better and better represented. Okay, so that's why I have this idea of starting Noon. But as we know, right? As we know, the representation of local cities in Malaysia, especially, is actually not very good, right? The particular visual design of it is, in fact, pretty bad. That's why since I think in 2019, we have the whole Tourism Malaysia 2020 logo disasters, right? And it really pushed me to want to do something, to create good identity for the city that we are living in. So that's why that's the logo that I have. That's the slogan for this creative agency, is that we want to design a better story of our city. Not just because currently I'm based in Penang, but I'm not just talking about Penang. It could be Kuala Lumpur, it could be Ipoh, could be Sarawak, Kuching, could be Sungai Petani, or even it could be Chiang Mai or Bangkok, right? Because I've seen a lot of case study that in Europe or in Australia, the city council, some of the city council, they are very particular about how their city is being represented visually, which is not something that we do here. So this all my aspiration and inspiration to start this agency. Then again, due to MCO last year, because business has been slow, I started a side project as well. It's called Story by Noon. So Story by Noon is a very humble project. It's a very simple one. My goal is to find 500 city makers in Malaysia. So these 500 individuals are, they can be artists, they can be writers, they can be businessmen, or they can be a chef. So these city makers are people who are doing interesting projects, right? And they are not really being highlighted, or most of the young people or younger generation are not aware of them. So what I'm trying to do is to find these people in Malaysia and just highlight them in my Story by Noon page. So it's a very simple project. And other than that, I also curate some case studies and ideas on how to on placemaking and how to make your city a more interesting place. Okay, so these are the two projects that I started last year. But these two projects are actually something that I really want to do long before. So before I started on this project, I was a lecturer, I'm a designer, I have been a digital marketer. So I wore quite a lot of hats, but by the end of it, this is what I really want to do. So I want to tell better stories of Malaysian cities, simply put. Okay. So regarding my presentation today, okay, first of all, if you are expecting cool graphics, I have to apologize because I don't have much cool graphics. I'm not I'm not so much of an illustrator. I'm more of a brand strategist. So most of my works are words. So if you are expecting cool animation, like I watched a few episodes back, if you are expecting cool animation or videos or illustration, then I have to disappoint. So on the other hand, I might not be able to show you very good or very interesting visual graphics or visual animation. I'm going to share with you four very simple lessons that I learned when I started out on my own. And I hope that this lesson might be able to, this lesson could be helpful to you if you are planning to start out on your own, or if you are starting out on your own. Maybe there's something that you can pick up from my experience. So it's actually 4 reminders for myself. Because why 4? The reason is 4 reminders is because it is more than 3 and I can't think of more than 5. So it's 4. So it's a constant reminders that I'm giving to myself on what I should do and what I shouldn't do if I'm starting out again, right? So number 1, the reminder that I keep telling myself is that when we are starting out, we all started out terrible, right? And if you're lucky enough, or if you're good enough, you might be starting out pretty bad, right? Instead of terrible. So what I mean by this is that if we keep waiting until we are good enough, or if we are waiting until we are perfect, then only we start out, then most of the time it will be too late. So like I mentioned earlier, I have been delaying my decision to start out for half a decade. If I have started out 5 years earlier, right, I think things will be much more different now than I started out last year. Right? So the first reminder I keep saying to myself is that if there's a project that I want to start, right, just start it out. It can be ugly, it can be terrible, it can be not up to standard, but just start first, right? And during the process, only then we keep pivoting, we keep trying to make it better. But the starting part is that just take the first step and try not to make it perfect, right? If we are waiting for perfect, we'll never start. So this is a constant reminder for myself, okay? The second one is don't be a moron. So there's a saying that it's okay for you to be stupid, but it's very dangerous for you to be stupid and not knowing about it. So I think when long before, right, when I first graduated, I think I'm pretty full of myself at the time. So I think during my first job, I think this is a little story I would tell. So my first job, I'm working as a account executive. So I wasn't hired as a designer. I was an account executive. So what I'm supposed to do is that I'm supposed to search for client, pitch to client, and look for new projects. Right. So one thing that one of the routine is that every day I have to cold call clients, right? And whenever I cold call clients, I always have this I always have this sense of insecurity, like an imposter syndrome, because what I'm selling is usually the pitch is like this. Hello, good morning, Mr. Wong. Let's say, good morning, Mr. Wong. I'm calling from blah 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 studio, and we are a graphic design agency, right? So the next question is pretty stupid. Is that, do you need any graphic design services? So apparently, when you ask any business owner or any of your client this question, you will most likely get an answer which is no, right? So at the time, I always assumed that I was pretty smart, but it turns out it's not that easy. I always think that just looking for clients shouldn't be that hard. There's a lot of ways to do that, but apparently, when you're too full of yourself, it's very difficult for you to learn. So I would say that try to. I mean, it's better to be stupid and not know about it, right? When you think that you are stupid, or when you think that you don't know anything, right, then it's much more easier for you to learn everything. So, in fact, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know much, right? So, the second reminder I keep telling myself, no matter, even if one day, if let's say I become successful, I've completed a project successfully, I try to keep remind myself that I'm not that smart. There's still a lot to be learned. And to tell the truth, when I started noon, right, when I've already started noon, I realized that there is so much that I don't know about. There's so much that I don't know about, and there's so much to learn. And if you realize there's so much to learn, it's actually a very exciting time, right? I mean, having the opportunity to learn is a very exciting time. Okay, so yeah, the second reminder: don't be a moron. Now, the third reminder, this is the most important one. In fact, if you guys are listening, or for those of you who are watching, right, if there's one message that I want to tell you, or if there's one message I hope you can take out of this, is that consistency beats perfection. What I mean by this is that, especially in our age, our social media age, right, consistency beats perfection means that what you do consistently, right? You try to produce something every day, or you produce something consistently, is better than you produce one thing perfectly, right? So we are talking about creating an identity, right? If you want to create an identity for yourself, a personal branding, let's say, for yourself, it's not so much as what you claim, it's not so much of what you say, okay? It's very much about what you do consistently. So if you claim that you are a illustrator, but you only produce illustration like 3 illustrations per year, then you're not an illustrator, right? If you claim that you are a writer, then you must be asking yourself, are you writing every day, right? So the hard part is not being perfect. Being perfect is not even important. The hard part and important part is being consistent. Consistency, I realize, is very important. So just imagine this: if you can consist, I mean, it's pretty. I think this is a very generic advice. A lot of people have been saying this. If you have a social media account or if you have a Instagram page and you would like to grow your followers, right? So to grow your followers, one simple way or one direct way is to consistently produce content every day. And the reason why I said this is a very important reminder for myself is because this is something that I find it very difficult to do, to consistently doing something. So to think about it is actually, when you think about it, it will seems like it's very boring because you every day you have to do the same thing, and not exactly the same thing, but you have to produce something, right, consistently. But in the long run, this is what it takes to become a master in something, right? To master a skill or to master an expertise, it takes consistency. So if there are any young designers watching, or if there are any design students watching, think of one skill that you want to master. It can be drawing, it can be designing, it can be anything. Every day do it. And if you want a good short feedback loop, means after you do something, you want to have some result or you want some responses on your work, then post it online, post it on your social media, post it on anywhere that you can think of. Post every day. So if you are doing that consistently for 2 years, I believe you will see some pretty good result on that, right? So consistency is much better than the quality of your work, is much better than everything else. Just the simplest way is to consistently do something, right? And this is the last reminder for any young designers or any design students who are thinking of starting out on your own, or you want to freelance or anything. Just remember that you are not alone, and you shouldn't be alone, right? If you are freelancing or if you are starting out, get a group of friends, make friends with people, make friends with other freelancers. But you make friends not to expect other people to give you jobs, or you're not expecting other people to like give you something, right? But you're making friends just basically to know that you have people who you can share your entrepreneurial journey with. This way, the process will be more exciting. It won't be as lonely, right? And sometimes you might be able to find people who can give you good advice or give you guidance, some mentor. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to find a very good mentor for yourself. So just remember, when you are starting out, if you are doing anything, you are not alone, right? And make sure that you ask. If you want anything, ask. You can't be shy. You can't be trying to, hide yourself. You need to go out there and make friends. It's just simple as that. Okay. Just remember, this journey is not for you to walk alone. So yeah. So these are hopefully a very simple 4 reminders that I have for myself, and also I hope you will have learned something out of these 4 reminders, right? So now, time for some self promo. Okay, just now I asked a question, right? What is the one important skill that most designers lack? Now, I think most designer lacks this particular writing skill, right? How many of us designers here actually write? Uh, uh, I think I've known quite a number of designers, and most of them don't write. So why do I say writing is a very important skill for you? Now, I'm not talking about writing professionally, though if you are able to write professionally, it will definitely help you in your career. But let's forget about writing professionally. Let's just talk about writing a diary or writing a journal. And I'm not even talking about writing in English. You can write in any particular language that you want. But if you can have a habit of writing every day, either you are writing about your thoughts, you are writing about the design that you make, you are writing about the comment that your lecturers gave or your client gave, or you are trying to rant about your feedback or your work or anything. Just write everything daily, keeping a daily journal or diary. You will be able to have more time to reflect on what you do. So if you are able to reflect on your work, if you are able to reflect on your days, you might unconsciously learn more about yourself. So that's a very important thing, I think, learning about yourself. Because if you are unable to learn about yourself, then it's very difficult for you to craft an identity for yourself, right? So because I understand that most designers are not really fond of writing or even fond of reading, recently I've started another new project. It's called Supper Society. In fact, this project I only started it yesterday. Yesterday, actually, this project is again in my brain for a few months. Right, I've been thinking about this for a few months, but like I mentioned earlier, I keep delaying. I want it to be perfect and everything. But I take this opportunity for today's conversation with Chunwei, and to push myself to come up with to start out this project. So what is Supper Society? Supper Society, why I call it let's say why I call it Supper Society. So I remember in the past, during university time when I was studying in graphic design, right? Graphic designer like to work late till night, right? Graphic students especially, we like to work until midnight. Then after we work, we will go mamak to hang out or go mamak to have supper, right? So it was a very happy time. And I mean, it's a happy time before MCO happened. So I call this Supper Society is for people like us, creative people, people who are trying to start a freelancing gig, trying to start a side job, or trying to start a side project. And I group us together as people who go for supper, and I name it Supper Society. So what is Supper Society? Supper Society is actually is more like a service it's like a writing services. So if you have something that you need written about, so let's say if you are building a website, or if you are building a portfolio, even a simple portfolio, or you want to start a social media page, Instagram page, and sometimes there are a lot of contents that you need writing. Okay, so Supper Society is a platform to support you and help you with your writing, basically. Okay, so I try to grow a group of community where we can support each other and increase our writing skills. Okay, so yeah, so this my most recent project, in fact, is so recent that it was only big out yesterday. Okay, so for those of you who are watching, who are interested to learn more, like I said, it's still under construction, but you can search for Supper Society on Facebook, and you can like my page for more updates in the future. All right. So yeah, that will be it. Like my usual lecture, I only lecture for 15 to 20 minutes. So I can't, because when I speak too long, I tend to mumble. I tend to keep repeating myself.
Tend to carry away.
Yeah, I tend to get carried away. So yeah, it's better for a question to come in, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for a person like you, you were studying graphic design, and now you are going into all these placemaker, city maker, So what's the transition between as a graphic designer do this?
I think it's the mindset, because when I'm a graphic designer, right, the one thing that we all really cares about, or one thing that we really focus on, is either our work, by the end of it, it looks pretty and it can basically reach the objective of our client, right? As long as it looks good, it reached the objective of our client and all that. However, when I want to tackle, let's say, a bigger project, so let's say placemaking for say, then there's a lot of issue that comes with management. There's a lot of issue that come with research. You have to study to get insights. So I think it's less of execution and more of the strategic part. You have to transition from execution more into strategic. And in order for you to transition effectively into strategic, there's a lot to be learned, a lot of things to read. You need to read a lot. You need to have a lot of studies in order for you to have good insights. So yeah, I think I study more now compared to my students' life. I read more and study more compared to especially my university life as a graphic student.
Okay. So your supper society, it's interesting. So you purposely do it because we have the conversation today, right?
Not purposely do it. Is that this conversation?
Okay,
this conversation give me a push, I would say.
Ignite the thing. The sound of it is very interesting. So can you tell us more about it?
Like I said, it's still not very refined yet, but I want to create a writing culture, put it that way. I want to create a writing culture for creative people. So if you are an artist, you are a designer, or you are making videos or anything, many people would think that now we have videos, right? Vlog is very is trending. In fact, it's very dominant compared to blog. Hardly anyone read blogs anymore. But what I want to start with this supper culture is not for us to use writing as a marketing tools. It's more like writing for reflection tools. So it allows us to think deeper when we write. Yeah. So at the moment, I still don't know what to do with it, to be honest.
So everyone can check out Noon Instagram page, which I have already shared.
Hold on, I have a slide here. So yeah, now I have three projects to be honest. So if you are interested in placemaking, or if you're interested in city projects, then you can check out noondesign.city or Noon Design in Facebook, right? Then if you're on Instagram, you can check out Story by Noon. I featured city makers there. You can meet some very interesting people there, right? And lastly, like I mentioned earlier, is Supper Society is also on Facebook at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like what you say is true. I mean, designers don't really write. Okay, designers are pretty bad at all this wording and stuff. So, what is your advice? What is your best advice for designers to start writing?
I think the first thing is write in a language that you are comfortable with. I realize that not just design students, even some of my friends, they are hesitating to write because they thought that when it comes to writing, they have to write in English, and they thought that their language is not as good. Their English is not as good, so they are hesitating to write. So first, just write in a language that you're comfortable with. It can be in Bahasa Melayu, it can be in Chinese, it can be language that you're comfortable with. Then you just write every day. Then by consistently writing, you will somehow find, you will be able to find, how do I put it? You'll be able to realize that your skills is getting better. And write, I mean, write things that you are interested in. You don't have to like write academic thesis. Just write things that you're interested in. You can write comics, story for comics. You can write what they call it, screenplay. So many interesting things that use words, right? You can write advertisement slogans. So many fun things. Just write.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. I mean, to get designers into writing habit, right? So, and another thing is that Noon, you started Noon last year during MCO. So what it's a challenging time to start a design studio during MCO. So what are the biggest challenge that you face during that time when you start?
I think the biggest one is getting enough project for you to sustain at the moment. I think if there are people out there, I mean, if there are students graduating who are planning to start out on your own, save up some money first. Now is not an easy time. So because when the money is drying up, then you will start to have this pressure, and it's not very healthy for the business. So that's why I start another project, the Story by Noon project. That one is to keep reminding myself why I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have also followed your Story by Noon. It's really good that you feature quite a lot of people. Right. So we also have what to say, to actually inspire designers, right? Young designers. So with Supper Society coming up, maybe you can perhaps like students and younger designers would actually check you out and to actually involve in those projects, right? Okay, so we have one questions at the moment. Wei Fang, what is the reading list that you recommended for good writing?
Wow. Reading list. Let me see if I have any at my side. Yeah. Okay. Wei Fang, if you are a designer, right? I think you can start with, you can check out Michael Barut. So Michael Barut is, I think, a very famous graphic designer from Pentagram. So I like his writing more than his design, to be honest. I like to read his writing. So yeah, but there's no reading list, to be honest. I think one thing with the younger people it's not that I'm very old. It's just that now we have all this content, right, coming from YouTube, from Facebook, from Instagram, TikTok, and all this content is very attention grabbing, and you don't need to have a high intensity focus to consume them. Now, if you are going for a movie, right, you will consider a movie is very taxing because it's 2 hours long and you have to stay there for 2 hours focusing on the movie. But when we have TikTok, which is only 30 seconds or 10 seconds even, so if you can pick up anything that you like to read, then it's good enough. It can be a magazine, it can be comic, even graphic novels. They are made. So last 2 years, last 2 years was the first time I discovered graphic novels. because before this when I was young, I read manga a lot lah. But graphic novels, previously I don't really like the illustration style. So last 2 years, I discovered graphic novels. I started reading Sandman. Wow.
Okay, good
Mind
choice.
blown. Oh, mind blown. Neil Gaiman, because I read Neil Gaiman's book before, but I've never read Sandman. So when I read it, oh my god, it's mind blowing. So a lot of good writing out there. So just read what you think is suitable for you. You can even read Twilight if you like it. No books should be considered as bad books, as long as it keeps you reading.
Okay, so we have a very familiar name, Moses. So Moses asks you, I think the question is just one line. Why are you not continuing to be a graphic designer, since you remind us about consistency?
Moses, I'm still a graphic designer.
Yes.
I'm still doing graphic design actually. It's just that I'm trying to expand the role of graphic designer, to be honest. So in the past, or maybe still now, graphic designer is always on the executor role, right? We are always at the end of the line executing what's already being decided in the strategy part. So I'm trying to expand our role onto maybe managing part and hopefully onto strategic part as well. So by expanding our role, then only can we, expand our, be more appreciated lah, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's true lah, like what Jun is saying, because as a graphic designer, you can't stay like what you are for the next 10 years or so on. So Moses says that read the next part of the question.
Shift other fields. Oh, shifting other field. This one. Okay, I personally, this is just personal opinion, okay, because I believe everyone has different. You will have different. You will have different, how to say, journey for yourself, but there's this concept called barbell theory. So barbell theory is I learned it from Nassim Taleb. Is that you want to have something, a job that is safe, a job that can provide to you, maybe sustain your life, right? So when you have a safe job, it can be boring, it can be a job that you don't really like, and it can be something that just pay the bills, right? Then on the other hand, while you're working on the boring job, right, you can start something on your own and take risks or bigger risks on your own projects. So if you are planning to shift, right, just have build up enough leverage or build up enough capital for you to shift from your boring job to the risky job, or the so-called risky job. So if you are afraid of shifting to other fields, or if you are afraid of making decision, right, you don't have to take like, maybe today you are a graphic designer, tomorrow you are an interior designer, right? You totally are not working on graphic design anymore. You can slowly transition it. You don't have to be so you don't have to be like so extreme, and from one role you shift to another role totally. I would say take it slowly, learn about it first. But if you are young enough, if you are still in your 20s or your early 20s, try as many things as you want. Don't fix yourself to an identity yet.
Yeah, correct.
So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah. I think I also agree with that. I think as a designer, it doesn't mean that you're gonna be a graphic design person for the next 10 years. So like some designers, they branch out to become an animator, comic artist, and so on and so on, right? So So I've known a few also, like myself also, a graphic designer who branched out to become a toy designers and so on. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think this is based on every individual's ambition. It's like graphic design is like a pathway for you to do more in design, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you have actually, if you have the skill of if you have the skill of designing or coming up with something beautiful and attract people to buy it, that's a very important skill and a very good skills to have. You know, it's just that how you are using that skill. You can use that skill to build your own business. You can use that skill for other people to build their business, or you can use that skill to even do goods, right? So graphic design, I mean, it's sometimes kind of disappointing to see that graphic designers think that the skill is not being valued, right? So it's very important if you are able to design something beautiful and if you are able to convince people with your visual. The only part where you have to make sure or where you have to improve on is designing beautiful things and convincing people. If you are able to do that, then you have a good skill. In fact, a lot of people is looking for that.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing is that instead of complaining, people don't appreciate your works. You should you should start to do something else. You know, like to do more design, to understand more, to explore more on whatever things that you can do. Right.
True.
Yep. So we see any more questions that is coming from the audience.
What about students? You do not like say if students did not ask question, they will be, or students that ask question got extra marks or bonus mark like that.
This is not my control. Right? Yeah. So there's always how to say there's always a questions like there's always a dilemma like why do you think that overseas every other countries are very particular with the visual that we present them and not here in Malaysia.
Oh, you're asking me.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
uh okay, I think there is one lah. In order for us to appreciate art, in order for us to appreciate beauty, in order for us to appreciate anything that is fine or beautiful, right? We must first have the capacity to survive first, I think. So for Malaysians, or I think for Malaysia as a whole, we are still in the mindset of surviving, in the mindset of earning, in the mindset of having a good living first. So if we are not having a good living, we won't care so much about either something is beautiful or not. We care more about either something is useful. We will care more about either is affordable, useful, and all that. So if we can't survive, or if we are hardly surviving, we don't care about beauty, or we don't care so much about the quality yet. Yeah. So unless us as a society, we are really we are really moving towards a better community, or we are moving up the ladder, economy ladder, design is still not that important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what do you think that since Georgetown having that UNESCO status, right? So we all can see that on the streets there are, especially the wire frame, the wire
Oh,
sculpture. I find that it's one of the a very good way because it really tells stories of that particular streets, right? I
Yeah.
remember I remember like there was a friend who asked me why this road is called Pintal Tali. You know, so Pintal is twisted, Tali is rope. So
Yeah.
I can't answer that question, so I bring him to that wireframe. Yeah, this is why it is called. So I think this kind of this kind of like idea, it looks like it's a work of art, but at the same time it's telling a story. So what
Yeah.
do you think of the idea?
So um, in the past, right? In the past, when I was still a smart ass, still thinking that myself is a smart ass, right? Whenever I look at a piece of art or any artwork, fine work, right? I always try to analyze it, like, what is this artwork trying to tell me? What's the message? What's the meaning behind this work and all that? So I try to over analyze something, and when the meaning of an artwork or the message behind is something that's very shallow or something that is simple, I tend to like appreciate it less, which is a stupid thing to do. I think when it comes to artwork, right, a very good measurement of success is actually very simple. You look at the artwork, you feel that it's nice, you feel that it's interesting, and you are, how to say, you are there's a emotion being triggered by the artwork. Either you are angry, or even you are sad, or you're happy. Any kind of emotion is being triggered by that work. Then I think that work is good enough. So like you mentioned, the sculpture, right, it triggered a conversation, it triggered a story. So that's actually a good work. Right? It doesn't have to be painted by famous artists with, you know, message behind it, or maybe political message or something. It doesn't have to be any work that actually trigger an emotion, trigger a conversation. I think that's a good work.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think it plays a very important role about having all these things that comes together. The story, I think the story is one of the most interesting things to do at since the beginning, right? So even in branding, it's always about stories.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, whatever things that you do, it's always about having that story to tell, right? So to tell a story is another matter. To write is another matter, but to tell a story, how would you advise the students or the younger designers over here to actually get their inspiration from?
Wow. The question is getting harder and harder, man. uh okay, if you're talking about story, because I did some study on storytelling as well, because uh the I want to tell a better story of our city, right? So there's actually a few frameworks of storytelling. uh and most of this framework actually comes from films and movies. So I think the best way of trying to understand a story, right, or trying to inspire yourself to tell a story, is the simple way is to watch a movie or watch a series or anything. So so let's say Star Wars lah. You're a fan of Star Wars, right? The framework for Star Wars is as old as Bible itself. It's a hero's journey. Star Wars is basically a hero's journey framework. So it started with a hero not knowing himself to be a hero. Then something changes his mind, and he has to go through hardship and finally become the hero he is supposed to be. So it's a simple framework of storytelling, right? And there's a lot of framework that you can find. So one of my favorite is Rick and Morty. Rick
Okay.
and Morty storytelling, oh, is another brilliant mind behind it. So the next time when you watch a movie that you like, maybe you can ask yourself why you like it. Is it because of the character? Is it because of the plot line? or is it because of the action and all that? Yeah, like Moses said, Joseph Campbell's. So yeah, if you want to tell better story, then watch a lot of movies. And if you are a student, right? If you are still studying, you can apply the same kind of plot line of a movie into your design process as well, actually. So don't be so worried of. So let's say if you like Star Wars, right? You might not be able to imitate the entire characters because it's all licensed, but the story that they use, the plot line that they use, you can actually apply it to any kind of stories that you want. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very good advice. Watch movies. So, yep. Any other questions from the audience out there? So, if not, then we will wrap it up tonight.
Any more questions? No.
More questions? Okay, so thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for making your time, and hope to hear from your supper society.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. Join us again in another coming webinar. So thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
All right.